In this video, I'm going to talk about the optimal driving speed with trailer. So today I was out driving, it was a little bit rainy, and I have this test route where I drive 10 kilometers one direction and then I turn around and drive back. So in that way I compensate for elevation and wind. And I wanted to see how the consumption changed over speed. So you see here that I tested 70, 80 and 90 kilometers per hour, and the consumption was 300, 330 and 350. So that's pretty interesting. It means that you can save like 10% energy by reducing your speed 10 kilometers per hour. But I also wondered how it can be used for regular road trips. So let's say you have a case where you want to drive 100 kilometers, and if we look at driving time versus charging time and then add those numbers together, you will actually see that driving at 70 kilometers per hour will be slower, a lot slower actually. That's because superchargers are so freaking fast. So you arrive faster by driving faster, you consume more energy, but you see, it charges so fast. So the next case is if you have CHAdeMO, which is significantly slower than supercharger, but still very fast. And even in that case, you still arrive faster by driving faster. But you see, I have only tested 90 kilometers per hour, and you probably know that in Norway, the highest allowed speed with trailer is 80. So I was also overtaken by many trailers when I did my test. But I know that in some other countries, you can drive faster. I think like 100 kilometers per hour, that's probably the fastest you can drive in some countries in Europe at least. So I am not able to test that. I don't dare to test it in Norway. But let's look at the next case. If you drive 100 kilometers, same as previous, but you can only charge 16 kilowatt, and you can only charge 14 kilowatt, 16.5 kilowatt AC. But in order to compare these numbers with the other ones, which is DC, directly to the battery, you have to take into account the charging loss. So many people don't do that. But if you take into account the charging loss, you only get 14 kilowatt, at least for the cars of today. If you don't have the upgraded charger in the car, then you actually only get about 9.5 kilowatt net. Yeah, which is 11 kilowatt AC. But let's assume that you have that faster charger. Then you actually see that you will arrive faster if you drive slower. But however, you see that the difference is not that great between 70 and 80, but with 90 kilometers per hour, yes. But I consider this kind of charging so slow that it's not something you would sit and wait for. You probably want to plug it in and go to a long meeting or have a long dinner or do something, or maybe it's a sleepover. It's not something you want to sit and wait for during a trip. If you have to top up, I highly recommend CHAdeMO. Yeah, don't go with the AC. It's so slow compared to the other ones. So let's look at the next case, which is if you want to drive 200 kilometers, so double that distance. Well, then the charging time increases quite a lot, especially for if you drive fast. But still, you see that you still arrive faster if you drive at the fastest speed, which is like 90. I mean, I only drive 90 maximum. And still, that's because you have still very fast supercharger. And you see, even you can see that the average speed will drop the faster you go. And this is average speed. And towards the top, you only get like 40 kilowatt. Whereas when you charge in the middle and the bottom, you get like 100 or 90 kilowatts. But it's still faster. But this is if the world was flat, but the world is not flat, and many cases you actually have to gain some elevation. So the next case is almost like worst case, where you have to drive 200 kilometers and you also gain 600 meter elevation. Okay, let me explain a little bit about the physics. That you have potential energy, and we have something called gravitational potential energy, which is when you gain height, you gain elevation, you actually gain more potential energy. You have to spend more energy to go uphill, but that energy will be released once you go downhill. However, it doesn't help that much if your destination or your supercharger is kind of high up in the elevation, right? So there is a formula for that, which is m times g times h. M is the mass, g is the force, which is like the gravitational force, and then h is height. So if you assume that the car weighs 2,600 kilos, and then you have a trailer like 500 kilos something, so you have almost 3,000 kilos times 9.81. That's the acceleration on Earth. What's it called again? I don't remember the name for it, but anyway, you get my point. And then you have to time 600, which is the elevation difference. And then you get some number, which is joules, is a freaking high number. Divide that by 3.6 million, you get around around 5 kilowatt hours. So that means you have to have 5 extra kilowatt hours to go up that mountain or whatever. And that's when it starts to get tricky, because you have to drive far and you also have to gain elevation. This is not just like an uncommon case. I hit this case very often in Norway. You have to go uphill. I also see in America when I was there. So it's not uncommon that you have to gain some elevation. So in that case, you see that it is actually faster to take it easy, because it's like, it's really extreme here. So you will actually like get there faster if you drive at 80, but still not 70, because 70 it's so slow, and the supercharger is okay. Well, it's slower, but it's still fast enough. But you see that if you cruise at 90, then you will arrive slower. So here the sweet spot is at 80. But you see that if Tesla would put up some more superchargers, let's say they have one halfway there, then you will have another case where you can drive 100 kilometers, still go uphill, juice up there, and then drive another 100 kilometers. That sounds kind of cumbersome, but to do that, but look at the numbers, because you cut down charging time a lot. The problem with the previous case is that you have to charge, you have to push your battery. Oh, by the way, this is 90 kilowatt hour battery pack, and you have to push it to 95%, and that takes freaking forever, 95, 97%. Whereas if you have a supercharger between there, then you can stay in the sweet spot and receive like fast speed. You can receive like 100 kilowatt instead of 25 kilowatt or whatever you get at the slow, like in the end. So you actually see that you save a lot of time, a lot of time. Like, you can actually cruise at 90 kilometers per hour and arrive there pretty fast. So this is why Tesla should install more superchargers at different locations. I mean, they do like a mix thing where they, on some spots, they increase the chargers on that existing location, and they also put up brand new locations. So I mean, you might be asking like, why does this matter to me? Because I don't pull a trailer. Well, yeah, you don't pull a trailer, but the consumption can actually go up quite a lot during winter, if you have winter where you live. If you have snow, that can actually in some case increase the consumption to like 50% more, and then you're actually getting like not the same crazy amount as me, but you're getting some high consumption that you would wish you want to have an extra supercharger in between those legs. And of course, I'm talking about 90 kilowatt hour battery pack here. A lot of people have 60 kilowatt hour and 70, yeah. So as for those people, yes, you also want to have more superchargers on your route. But you can always use CHAdeMO, like I've proven in the earlier cases there. CHAdeMO will help a lot actually. So if you have, let's say you have too small battery, or maybe, yeah, I don't know, maybe if the supercharger is not available, you could skip one and just go for the CHAdeMO. But then in most cases, you want to charge at the supercharger, even if you have to sit and wait for like 10 minutes. As I've seen whenever I have like there are some cars in line, then I rarely have to wait more than, let's say, 5 to 10 minutes to get a spot. And of course, once you get a spot there, it is kind of slow, but it doesn't take too long before the speed picks up. So yeah, but oh, by the way, I should also like point out that this is my trailer. It's like, I would say, medium size. It's not small, but it's not large either. And I have some other numbers. So if you go back to the first numbers here, you see that in my case, you know, I have like 300 to 360 only, which is not too high. I've also pulled like other stuff, and when I pull a boat or the freaking huge trailer, then the consumption was like 450, 500 or even more. So in that case, you know, the whole like you get this offset and everything changes. So in my case, like I would get there faster if I cruise at 90, but if you have a big caravan or a big boat, then you might have to cruise at 80 to get there faster, even if you have supercharger support. But again, it depends on how far you have to leap between the supercharger. You see, this is so complex that, you know, I can't give you an answer, and most of the time I can't even figure it out how much I should charge. But it seems like, I mean, my like best advice to you is that if you're not sure how much you should charge, then at least charge a little bit more than you think you need. Let's say if you think you need 80%, sit there maybe 10 more minutes just to be sure, because I almost ran out a couple of times. Actually, it happened about 2 weeks ago. I charged to like 90%. I should have charged to 95% because I underestimated that leg. It was 170 kilometers long, and it also involved like 400 meter elevation. And what I didn't check, which was a little bit of a rookie mistake on me, is the wind. Yeah, I had some headwind, and the headwind kind of makes a somewhat big impact on when you're pulling a trailer, and I would believe also if you pull like a caravan. So, you know, I left the supercharger maybe 10 minutes earlier than I should, and in the end I had to waste like 45 minutes going to a slow charger. Actually, it was an AC. So as long as you have, you know, good coverage, then juice up enough. And another thing I have to point out is that with high consumption, you also have more heat loss in the battery. So you know, this is also something many people are not aware of, because I see this question on the social media, actually on Facebook, many times. People, they wonder like, why, let's say if they have an 85 kilowatt hour pack, you know, you're supposed to get around 75 kilowatt hour out of it, but only if your consumption is low. So I've seen screenshots, people post like, you know, they only pull 70 kilowatt hour, not 75. But then when I look at the numbers, you know, they don't average 150 to 170 watt hour per kilometer. They average like 250. And with that high consumption, you can't expect to get 75 kilowatt hour out of it. And okay, back to my point again. If you pull a trailer, caravan, boat, whatever, you know, you have to expect some significant loss. I haven't measured it yet how much, but I have an idea that, I mean, okay, let's say for my car, the 90 kilowatt hour pack, you're supposed to get around 80 kilowatt hour from it if you have like normal consumption. It seems like for me, who's pulling a trailer, going uphill and stuff, that I could get as much as 2 to 3 kilowatt hour loss. And that's probably why I almost ran out of juice that time, because I forgot to count in that loss. So, and that loss is not counted in the trip meter. It's just, yeah, I don't know, some other people can actually probably explain what this is all about, but there's something to do with the current flowing. The more current flowing, you get more heat. It's like a something there. You know, I'm not electric engineer. I'm a computer engineer, but I just picked up this this phenomenon. So yeah, I hope that was useful for you if you pull a trailer or whatever, or maybe if you consider doing it. And oh yeah, okay, I should also maybe add in the end here that I also get this question many times, like how much, what's the range I can expect from, you know, this whatever Model X 60 or 70 or whatever. Well, you know, I can't really answer that because I mentioned that it's so complex. It's based, I mean, you have to look at so many variables. You have like trailer size, weight, and also especially weight when you go uphill or downhill, and wind, weather, and all that stuff. So, but I can say, like, in general, that just expect about half of your normal range. So if you looking at the car, and whatever car, and you know that it has this and that range, but I want, by the way, half of typical, or whatever they call it. Oh, the lights went off. Hang on. Like half of typical, you know, or well, it depends where you live. Typical or rated in America, or whatever that is, you know, the realistic range, not that very optimistic range. So you can expect about half of that. Yeah, that's like my best advice to you. So yes, I guess that's it for now then.